In today's lesson, we will be differentiating inverse trig functions. So more things to memorize. These are a little bit complicated, but you can totally do this. Okay, so sine and cosine, they're both 1 over, cosine is negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus x squared. Square root 1 minus x squared. Okay, secant and cosecant. So 1 over the absolute value of x times the square root of, it's flipped now, x squared minus 1. Cosecant, same thing, it's negative. 1 over absolute value of x, square root of x squared minus 1. Okay, tangent and cotangent are actually the two easier ones. 1 over x squared plus 1, no square root, and negative 1 over x squared plus 1. So notice how all of the c's are negative. Secant and cosecant both have that absolute value. Tangent and cotangent, neither of them have that square root. So these, once you have them memorized, they're easy to use. It's just a matter of can you memorize them. Okay, so here's a real quick review of the domain and range of inverse trig functions. So the domain for cosine and sine are both negative 1 to 1. And then the range for cosine is 0 to pi. So just to give you a visual, we're dealing with on the unit circle here. And then sine is negative pi over 2 to pi over 2. And then tangent, the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity, and then the range is negative pi over 2, but not to pi over 2, but not including pi over 2 and negative pi over 2. Whoops, I said not including, and then I still put it there. So we just have to remember this when we are evaluating our inverse trig functions. Okay, our first example, we are going to find the derivative of inverse cosine of 3x to the 5th. So we have to use that formula that we have to memorize, and then it's also chain rule. So cosine is negative 1 over the square root of 1 minus, and then you're plugging this whole thing in for x. So 3x to the 5th squared. And then chain rule times the inside, which would be 15x to the 4th. So let's simplify this a little. Negative 15x to the 4th over the square root of 1 minus 9x to the 10th. And that's the final answer. Okay, so now taking the derivative of the inverse tangent of square root of x. So same idea, using the formula and then chain rule. Okay, so the derivative, so let's do 1 over, we're going to plug this in for x. So square root of x squared plus 1. And then times the inside, and the square root of x is 1 over 2 square root of x. And then let's put it together right here. Those cancel. And so I'll have 1 over 2 square root of x times that quantity x plus 1. And that's it. Okay, third example. Inverse of secant. So secant is one of the more complicated ones with that absolute value. And then we have 5 ln x on the inside. So let's start. So we have to put this 5 ln x in for x everywhere that we have it. So secant, you have to put it in twice because it has the absolute value of x. So that's absolute value of 5 ln x. And then times the square root of x squared. So 5 ln x squared minus 1. And then chain rule times the derivative of the inside, which is 5 over x. So I've got 5 on top. Here, that absolute value of 5, you could just think absolute value of 5 is 5. And this x, so 5x, and then absolute value of ln x. And then square root of this will turn into 25, and then, ln x squared minus 1. And then those 5's cancel. So this is our final answer. All right, final part of the video. We're going to write a tangent line equation of this function at this x value. So inverse sine of 2x. So the inverse sine formula, let's go there. 1 over the square root of 1 minus, and then we're plugging in 2x in for x squared, and then times 2. So 2 over the square root of 1 minus 4x squared, and I'm going to plug in my 1/4 here. Okay, so if I square 1/4, that's 1/16, and then I multiply by 4, that goes back to 1/4. So 2 over the square root of 1 minus 1/4, 2 over the square root of 3/4, which is 2 over the square root of 3 over 2. So 2 divided by square root of 3 over 2 is 2 times 2 over square root of 3. So 4 over the square root of 3, and I'll just leave that like that. That's my slope. So I still need to write the equation, I need my y value. So now we just have to plug in 1/4 in here. So inverse sine of 2 times 1/4 is the same as inverse sine of 1/2, which that would be pi over 6. So the tangent line is y, let me write that up there, y minus pi over 6 equals the slope 4 over square root of 3 times x minus 1/4. So there is your full lesson on inverse trig functions, taking the derivative of them. Good luck with your lesson.